first of all, let me thank Viren Raskina. He needs no introduction. Olympian, Arjuna Awardee, Indian School of Business alumnus, then OGQ CEO plus director. Above all, he would love to be called a fighter. He was a fighter on the hockey field. I've seen him battle it out, uh, dive for tackles. That's great. Fantastic, Viren, having you on board. Shall kick off this session with your opening remarks.
First of all, thanks, Raghu, and thank you everyone, all the participants here, all my friends from Chennai who have taken the time out to attend this webinar. I won't give too long of a speech. I prefer to be more of an interaction where I answer your specific questions. But yeah, for me, it's been now post my retirement from hockey, post ISB. I joined Olympic Gold Quest in 2009, so I'm actually nearing completing 11 years, and it's been a great journey for me to help the next generation of athletes do something that I could not do, which is win an Olympic medal for India. So for me, this journey has been wonderful, and in a nutshell, I've tried to, through Olympic Gold Quest as a platform, bridge the gaps in Indian sport. I think from the time I was playing in the early 2000s to now, things have changed a lot. If you look at quality of SAI, quality of the federations, I think they have improved. More professionalism has come in. I would say the athletes have far more knowledge on things like physical training, recovery, diet, even things like social media. So it's good to see the athletes being overall smarter. You know, I've had the experience of working with very senior athletes like Mary Kom, Saina, Gagan Narang, as well as younger athletes like, say, someone like Sindhu. I've actually, OGQ started supporting Sindhu when she was 13 years old. So she was one of the first athletes to be supported by OGQ. So I've actually seen her from the time she was a little girl in school with pigtails. We started supporting Lakshya Sen when he was 10 years old. So the journey with Sindhu, Lakshya has almost been 9-10 years. So to see these athletes growing and now seriously challenging at the world level is something that that makes me really happy. But you know, I've always been part of a team sport. Incidentally, OGQ supports only athletes from individual Olympic sports. Just for information, we primarily focus on badminton, boxing, shooting, archery, wrestling, these 5 sports. Little bit of, and then we support outliers from other sports. So in athletics, we only support a couple of javelin throwers. One is Shivpal Singh, who's got the Olympic quota, although Neeraj Chopra is the more well-known person. In wrestling, weightlifting, we support Mirabai Chanu. In table tennis, we support an Archana Kamath and Diya Chitle. So we do support a few outliers from other sports, but our primary focus is on the 5 sports I mentioned. Currently, we support almost 200 athletes. Out of those 200 athletes, almost 100 are juniors. So when I say juniors, that is in the age group from 11 to 19 years old. We generally do not support athletes before the age of 11. So 11 to 19, so we're already identified the best of the best talent and preparing them for the 2020 and 2024 and 2028 Olympics. However, the focus of this chat, I think, will be more on Tokyo now 2021, post-COVID, what's the situation? Again, just for your information, of the senior athletes we currently support, 21 athletes currently supported by OGQ have already won Olympic quotas for the country. Out of them, 9 are shooters, and one more, Anish Banwala, should get the quota by way of world rankings. In archery, we have all the 3 medal winners at the world in the team world championship silver medal for men were all supported by OGQ. Deepika Kumari in archery is also supported by OGQ. In boxing, 4 quota holders, that's Mary and Lovelina in women's, and Amit Pangal and Manish Kaushik in boxing. Wrestling, we have Vinesh Fogart in women's, and Ravi and Deepak. So Ravi and Deepak are the 2 new kids on the block. We have been supporting them for the last 5 years, from the time they were 15 and 16 years old, and enormous talents, both of them. In fact, we got the coach Vladimir Mashaveli, the Georgian coach, who also, if you all know, coached Sushil and Yogeshwar when they were juniors. So he, OGK has brought him down to Delhi for the last almost 5 years now, and he has been coaching both Ravi and Deepak. And Sindhu will qualify whenever the BWF announces the world ranking cutoff now. As per the new dates, Mirabai Chanu will also qualify, and maybe 1 or 2 boxers and wrestlers will qualify. There are still further qualification tournaments. We also, new thing that we have started recently is support to Paralympic sports. Currently, we support the training of 24 para athletes, mainly focused on 4 sports: para athletics, para badminton, para shooting, and para archery. So for the Paralympics, 12 para athletes supported by OGQ have already won quotas for the country. So that's in a nutshell. Obviously, Olympic qualification will still go on in both Olympics as well as Paralympics. As far as COVID-19 and the lockdown is concerned, I think very tough times for all athletes. Normally, athletes have performance pressure, fear of performance anxiety, dealing with injuries. Right now, it's a very different challenge we're dealing to keep them mentally focused and to motivate them to train. And Indian athletes, I've learned over the years, want spoon feed for everything. They want supervised training, supervised coaching. It's like what we did in school. We'll do the work only when the teacher is looking, otherwise play the fool. And same with Indian athletes, you need very focused, supervised training for them. So it's very hard for them now at home to do things on their own. And especially we're seeing in the physical sports like weightlifting, badminton, boxing, wrestling, the level of training has come down. If you consider 100% as the normal training in national camps, it's come down to around 30-40%. While all of us eat at 100%. So when this happens for 45-50 days, it might go up to 60 days. Tendency is there to put on weight because they're not training at the same levels. Now in weight-based sports like boxing, wrestling, weightlifting, this is proving to be very critical, and we have to. So we're trying our best to ensure that there are as much supervised training sessions as possible, with the coach giving a plan, supervised physical fitness sessions by physio, trainer, nutritionist, mental training sessions wherever required. So just trying to tick all the boxes as much as possible, especially for our Tokyo-bound athletes. And trying our best. Like I said, the biggest challenge is to keep them motivated to train. With that, Raghu and team, I'll leave it up to all of you all to shoot questions on whatever specific information you'll need.
Here, Santosh Kumar from Deccan Chronicle. Go ahead, Santosh.
Hi, Viren.
Hi, Santosh. Go ahead.
My question, as an organization who has been helping athletes to prepare for the big events, what do you think would be the biggest challenge for you as well as the athletes going into the postponed Olympic?
Santosh, I think honestly, I was not so worried in the initial stages, but now I am getting a bit worried because the break from intense quality training has become far too long. 45 days for elite athletes especially in the physical sports, is just too long. And we have to do everything possible to restart the national camps, especially in Patiala and Bangalore, as soon as possible for elite athletes. Again, I am not a medical expert, so I think the government has to work closely with medical experts to ensure that quarantine, uh, the right safety and health protocols are followed. But we have to resume training. Otherwise, it's going to get really worrying. Take, for example, a Mirabai Chanu in weightlifting. Right now, she's in the women's hostel in Patiala for 45-50 days since the lockdown. The gates are closed, but she lifts around 115 kilos in training. In clean jerk. Right now, she's only doing exercises in her physical fitness conditioning exercises in the women's hostel in Patiala with her own body weight. There are no weights in the hostel, so there's a limit to what they can do. At that level, I know it from experience. Every week that you don't train, you lose fitness rapidly, and it takes a month to regain that fitness. So the biggest worrying challenge right now is getting fitness levels back to peak as quickly as possible, and that's something I'm concerned about.
Thank you, Viren. Next will be Shyam Sundar of PTI. Shyam, please go ahead and shoot a question to Viren.
Hello, Viren.
Hi, Sham. Good afternoon.
How are you? Yeah. How are you?
Very fine. Go ahead, Sham.
Yeah. See, something about hockey.
Yes.
See, the Indians have preparing very hard for the games that is now postponed. Do you think the postponement will work for or against our prospects, and how do you evaluate our team at present?
I think the hockey team has been doing very well over the last 1 year. We have an excellent captain in Manpreet Singh. I would say we have a good bunch of, a good mixture of senior and junior players in the team, and you always need that mix of experience and youth. There's good competition for places all over the squad. I thought we had a very good start to the Pro Hockey League this time. Some good results against Australia, against Belgium. It's good to see the Indian team playing regularly, playing consistently. I think we can certainly challenge for a semi-final place. That should be the first target. Obviously, the first target is coming in the top 4 of our pool, because then you get in the quarterfinals. That, for me, that is going to be the most crucial match, because in the quarterfinals, I'm not exactly following the draw. Nowadays, I'm not following hockey so much as I used to follow. But I think in the other pool, there's Germany, Holland, Belgium, and England. So I'm assuming, or if we go by rankings and form, those 4 teams will come in the quarterfinal. So that means we will meet one of these 4 teams in the quarterfinals. And for me, that is going to be the most important match, where for 60 minutes, we have to maintain concentration, maintain focus, and maintain form. And being consistent in major tournaments is something that we have lacked. If you look at the 2016 Rio Olympics, the match that mattered against Belgium, in the quarterfinals, we lost. We didn't play well at all. If you remember the match before that, the last league match against Canada, we were leading 2-0, and then we allowed them to equalize, and it became 2-all. And because of that, we had to face Belgium in the quarterfinals. Otherwise, we would have avoided Belgium in the quarterfinals. So even in the World Cup, which was held at Bhubaneswar 2018, we had Holland in the quarterfinals. We played decently well, but the time has come for the Indian men's hockey team to win the matches that really matter under pressure. Otherwise, for far too long, we are coming close, but not close enough. So it's time to be mentally really strong, focused, and convert these potential into performance, actually.
Thank you, Viren. Let me
Thank you.
welcome Mr. Deepan Sangavedu, who is the Secretary of Sakti International School, CBSE School in Coimbatore. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your support. Without your support, this webinar wouldn't have been possible. Please say hi to Viren. Viren has been illuminating us with his views on Olympics and how OGQ athletes have been preparing for the Olympics.
Raghu sir, thank you so much for this opportunity for us to be able to host this session with Viren. So we have been following Mr. Viren for quite a few years, and as a school that is focused on sports and a school that considers sports as an important component in a child's development, we believe the efforts of a company like Gold Quest, headed by Viren, is something phenomenal for the country as a whole. And I was really enjoying the conversation so far. We are very happy to support this session, and we hope to continue providing such support to such initiatives from Raghu sir as well.
Kirti from the Hindu, please shoot a question to Viren.
The postponed Olympics, the athletes have not trained much, but you think given the COVID, I mean, most of the international athletes and Indian athletes will not be able to put their best foot forward in terms of timings, in terms of performances. That's a great possibility happening. Is that happening?
Yeah. See, I think I definitely agree with that point. It's going to be tough now to re-motivate yourself to train, and with the delay, honestly, we would have preferred if the Olympics went on schedule in July 2020 itself, because a lot of the top athletes, I'll just give you the example of shooting, where there are so many shooters in good form, from Manu Bakar to Saurabh Chaudhary, to Apurvi Chandela, Rahi Sarnobat. There were a lot of shooters in good form. Now, once the Olympics has been postponed by a year, and I'm in no way questioning that decision, because really that was the right decision and the only possible decision. But once this is postponed now, current form, confidence, momentum, everything goes out of the window. And everyone, not just Indian athletes, but athletes all over the world start from zero. We start from scratch. And that is going to be the big challenge for us, because now it makes it so hard to predict, because everyone has to refocus. There's a big break in training, and to come back from this is tough. The good thing is that it's a level playing field, because this has affected every country in the world almost equally. So we all start from zero, we start from scratch, and we wipe the slate clean. I was really encouraged that this time would be India's best ever performance, but right now it's very hard to predict performance for July 21.
Srivats from DTNet, should you have a question?
Hi, Viren sir.
Hi, Srivats. Hi.
So this is more about sport post COVID-19. So even during normal times, there are athletes and teams which find it difficult to find sponsors. So right now, almost all sectors have been hit. Do you think people will find it even more difficult to find sponsors and other stuff for their travels and competitions and other things post this pandemic?
Yeah, I think sport is going to be one of the most affected industries post COVID-19. In normal times, it's hard for sport to survive, and now it will make it even tougher, because sport, to a large extent, especially in India, depends so heavily on sponsorship. Now, with companies, first priority being to survive, ensuring that there's no retrenchment or salary cuts. I think also more so for organizations like OGQ, we are a not-for-profit organization, Section 8 company. We raise funds only through donations, which come through CSR from corporates or family foundations or individuals. Now, most funding is going to go towards healthcare and feeding the millions of poor and hungry, and rightly so. So it's going to be tough for everyone. Specifically for OGQ, I think we have a bit of reserves We have very evolved and long-term donors and supporters. And we've also spread our basket of donors. So we're not over-reliant on any single donor. So that will help us to keep us going. But yeah, it's going to be tough times. I was speaking to Vimal sir, Vimal Kumar, the head coach of Prakash Padukone Badminton Academy. And Vimal sir was saying that even domestic badminton tournaments are going to be tough because where are the sponsors right now? And of course, international tournaments are going to be delayed until international travel is allowed all over the world. But I think even it's going to be some time before we take before we start domestic tournaments, not just because of the health and safety issues and athletes and coaches being reluctant to travel all over the country, but also it's going to be tough to get sponsorship to organize these tournaments. So, like you rightly said, it's going to be a big challenge. We have to hang in there. We have to cut costs wherever possible. We have to be smart in how we run federations, smart in organizing tournaments, ensure that everyone has to chalk out real priority areas to make our spends on.
Thank you, Viren. Next up is Swaroop, who has been covering hockey extensively from the New Indian Express. Swaroop, go ahead, please.
Hi, Viren. This is just something that I want to touch upon. I mean, you also said something on the same lines. So, as a sportsman, as an elite athlete, what happens to the body specifically when you don't train for a couple of months?
Yeah, so I think fitness takes a long time to build up, but fitness deteriorates rapidly when you don't train. And so that is one thing. You lose fitness, you lose strength. Secondly, you also sort of lose muscle memory. And again, I'll give the example of Mirabai Chanu, because what she does is a sort of an extreme sport where a 49 kg girl is lifting 115 kilos, where normal people like you and me cannot even imagine lifting that bar 2 inches off the ground, forget over our head. So, and muscle memory is very important. Means I've been personally present for many training sessions, and the thing what they do is so exceptional, because the potential of injury in every training session is so high because of the kind of weights they are lifting. So it's about muscle memory and following regular protocols and doing that. If we don't do that for 2 months, your muscles lose memory of the right protocol to follow. And that's why when you restart after a long time, the chances of injury go very high. Even in sports like boxing, wrestling, even badminton, sparring partners are very important. Most of the fitness is done with sparring partners. And if we don't have sparring partners, there's a limit to what you can do with the punching bag or just at home. So just being in regular touch. So say I'll give you the example of hockey, since you cover a lot of hockey. If I'm not playing hockey regularly, I lose touch of my timing of say passes. I was a midfielder, and if my pass goes 2 centimeters off target, it's going to go to the opposition and not to my player. Think about doing things at speed. In hockey, the game has become so fast that everything is happening in microseconds. You have to take decisions in microseconds. And if I'm not doing it regularly, my timing, my form everything will be off. And every ball I pass will go to will not go exactly where it is supposed to go. So that's the need of regular training, to be in touch, and for your muscles, for you to hit in badminton, to hit the lines every time, in hockey to hit the pass exactly, pinpoint where it needs to go.
Fantastic, Viren. Next up is Prasad from Times of India.
How mentally challenging will it be for any of the sports persons currently who are the Olympic hopefuls, and even for those who are qualified for the Olympics? Do you reckon that maybe a session, or maybe them undergoing a training with a psychologist or or that sort should be done ahead of them starting all over again once the lockdown ends? Do you reckon that?
Yeah, very good question, Prasad. Uh, the simple answer is yes, it is very mentally challenging. Uh, Regarding working with a sports psychologist, um, we can't have one size fits all where we get a psychologist to work with every single athlete. I think that has to be on a need basis. There are some athletes like a Mary Kom who does not want to work with any sports psychologist, or even a Sindhu who does not want to work. So, and these are athletes are achieving, they have their set protocols, they have a lot of self-belief, and we need not force someone. It has to be something that an athlete really takes the first step. They have to accept the need for it. And the good thing is I've seen it, the increasing acceptability over the last decade. Formerly, again, when I was playing, the coach was guru, coach did everything. But now we're slowly realizing that sports psychologists is an area of expertise, and it's a big gap area in Indian sport. The thing is, there are very few really good sports psychologists who I would trust to come close to athletes, because if the sports psychologist is not good, if they don't understand the psyche of an elite athlete, they will actually more screw with their mind than actually help them. So we got to be very careful on which sports psychologists work with the athletes. I would prefer Indian sports psychologists as compared to foreigners, because sports psychology involves sharing your most intimate thoughts, worries, problems, and a lot of that has to do with building trust. The athlete has to trust the sports psychologist, and language and culture play a big part in that. And I've seen many athletes, they don't want a sports psychologist who comes for a one-off session. Say a foreigner comes and gives a one-off session and gives them gyan, because then the athletes feel they don't understand the challenges of that sport very intimately. They just come one day, give some talks to them and go back. But they don't actually understand day to day the challenges they're facing in training, the challenges they're facing just before competition, in the last 1 hour, in the lead up to the match, in the night before an important match. So I think sports psychology has to be looked at in the long run, where we improve 1%. Everything we have to look at improving 1%: coaching, training facilities, equipment, recovery, diet, sports psychology. If we improve in all these facets 1%, cumulatively we're talking about 7-8%. That's the difference between participating and winning the Olympic medal.
Once again, I have to thank Shakti International School for their support. Mr. Deepan Thangavelu is here. Sir, do you have any question to Viren? I know you love hockey. I've seen Mr. Bhaskaran's picture in your institution. So you can go ahead, sir, and ask Viren a question.
So I've had this question to Viren for a long time, because, as I said, I've been following his company. I think Viren is an alumni of ISB, if I'm right. So I think for a long time I've been following him. So one question I've always had is, how do they go about scouting talent, especially across the country, and what is the process that they follow, and do they have any particular process for identifying talent at the school level?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Thangavelu, for organizing this today's webinar, and thanks for your kind words as well. Like I said at the start, we focus on primarily on 5 sports. First of all, only on Olympic sports, only on individual Olympic sports. Unfortunately, not my sport, hockey. Our focus areas are badminton, boxing, shooting, archery, wrestling. Now, within these 5 sports, over the last 10 years, we have created an army of people at the ground level who are our eyes and ears on the ground. So we have our own full-fledged research team that researches on the best young talent in these sports. So in these 5 sports, we currently support almost 80 athletes who are actually maybe around 90 athletes who are actually 19 and below, between the ages of 11 to 19. they are the best of the best talent for 2024 and 2028 Olympics. Besides looking at quantitative factors, so performances at sub-junior, junior tournaments, we also look at qualitative factors. We talk a lot to the coaches, trainers, etc., to look at their discipline, commitment, hunger, and desire to be the best in the world. Besides these 5 sports, we also look at some sports where there are outliers. The best example of an outlier would be a Deepa Karmakar. Because I remember in 2000 and in around the 2009-10 period, we were researching on Deepa Karmakar, but the data never showed that she would achieve what she did at Rio 2016 Olympics. And when you are researching on someone, you have to go by data. And that's why I say outliers. Sometimes an exceptional athlete like Mirabai Chanu, we would support, but the data is still not showing that weightlifting would churn out 20-30 athletes who are capable of challenging like for Olympic medals, which is true in the case of badminton, boxing, wrestling, archery, etc. Eventually, we might win 1 or 2 or 3 medals in those sports at the Olympics, but there is a pool of 20-30 athletes. And when there's a pool of athletes, it sort of gives you economies of scale. Then you can concentrate world-class support systems to that one pool. It's hard for us to go down to school levels, but having said that, a lot of the athletes we support when they're 11, 12, 13, 14, they're still in schools. But we can't say that we have the bandwidth to look at every school, every college in the country. They have already have to be performing at a certain benchmark level in that particular sport to get our attention. And then we would track them. Every single athlete on our roster, we would have observed and researched them for at least 1 year before taking the decision to support. Because once we support, it takes at least 7-8 years to produce results. So that's 7-8 years of investment into them to try and get results.
Fantastic, Viren. You speak so well. We are honored, privileged to have you on our show. This is our first webinar of Gold Quiz. Had great pleasure in hosting you. I want to thank each one of you personally, Santosh, Shyam, Kirti, Sivat, Swaroop, Prasad and Mitran. Above all, Viren and Mr. Thangavelu, thank you for your support. We had a great session. Thank you, Mr. Thangavelu. I hope this is the beginning of many events in association with your institute. Thanks a lot for your support. Any final words, sir, on this webinar?
I'm very happy that we got in touch the last moment, and it's also been personal quest for me to be able to meet some of the eminent personalities in the sports world, especially Mr. Viren and all the other colleagues that you've introduced today. So it's such a pleasure to be a part of the session today.
Thank you guys. Take care, stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.